Well, after his 8-month ban, Ivan Toney looks set to return to Premier League action this weekend for Brentford against Nottingham Forest. And boy, do Brentford need him, having lost 7 of the last 8. Darren, you interviewed him for the newspaper, I know, a week or 2 ago. How did you find him?
He was in fantastic form. I went to his house and we sat and watched the football. I think it was a Nottingham Forest game, if I remember rightly, against Manchester United.
Probably scouting for his opponents.
Yeah, probably. The last team he scored against before the ban. But he was in good physical condition, and we know that because he scored against Como in a warm-up game, and another hat-trick he scored against Southampton under-23. So we know he's in good shape, and mentally he was in a good place as well, and he's really hungry to come back and make up for lost time. So
how was he reflective? Was he regretful? Is he at peace with himself?
I think that's the one. I think he's at peace with himself. I think the reasons why he was banned, I think a lot of people expected him to come and start railing against the punishment and all of that. And he was saying, look, what's done is done. There's no point me getting into that headspace of railing against the authorities when I've served a ban, it's behind me. I've been able to use the time to spend time with my family, spend time with the people around me who I love. My dad, I've got a fantastic relationship with. And his dad's better than him at pool, by the way. And just his family, seeing him.
You've got the support around him, huh?
Absolutely, because sometimes as journalists, we do these interviews in a kind of sterile room and you ask the questions, they give you the answers, and then everyone packs up and they go away. Sitting in the family where you see the dynamic with the children and, you know, dad, mum, everyone around, you kind of get a sense of a player who really is at peace and ready to come back at a time when he's hungry. And you guys know what it's like to be hungry, to come back and prove points and achieve targets. And he's obviously got 2 very big ones: to save Brentford from relegation and to put himself in the picture for a major tournament, because, of course, the whole situation meant that he couldn't go to the World Cup in Qatar and he missed out on a major tournament. He doesn't want to do that again.
Now, this is fascinating, isn't it? Because he wants to hit the ground running. He wants to try and make the Euro squad in the summer. He's got to try and help Brentford from being relegated. But then also he's being tugged in other directions. Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United could all do with a player of his profile. But interestingly, the feeling I got from that article as well, and you'll testify, Darren, is that he owes it to Brentford, having stuck with him for so long, to help them out of this mire right now. Yeah,
but people say you owe them. And of course, there's certain loyalty you have to a club. But you earn everything you get. A football club don't just give you money and let you play if you're not good enough. You have to get yourself into a position where you're good enough to be there and play there. Then you become an asset. Then all of a sudden, of course they're gonna want you to stick by them. But Ivan Toney, as Brentford are where they are because of Ivan Toney. You know, it's because of him. Yes, they've hung on in there, but him coming back now will probably give them the boost to make them definitely stay in the club. He's done more than enough for Brentford. You know, if he was to go, that's paying Brentford back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying it because I want him to go anywhere in particular. Of course I don't, because he's linked with Arsenal, he's linked with Chelsea. The fact is, I just get a little bit tired of people saying he owes.
No, but he's saying it himself that he owes it to Brentford.
Because obviously, you know what I mean, that's the club he's at the moment, and he feels that way. But if you look at it and you look at it inside, what does he really owe them in respects of his performances? He gives them everything every single game. There's no one saying, like, he got 6 months? How long has he got left on contract?
He's got a year and a half.
A year and a half left. They're going to be okay. You know what I mean? He doesn't need to do any more in respects of showing them the loyalty towards them, because him just wanting to stay there to the end of the season is more than enough. And everything what they've done for me up to this point, he's been the main focal point of it.
Is it going to be inevitable that he'll be off in the summer?
It feels like it.
It does, and it depends on, I guess, the money as well. If they feel it's enough for him to be able to replace him.
It's funny, like, you guys are analysing, you know, you've both been strikers that have been sought after by bigger clubs. You were at Ipswich and you were at Villa and you were at Spurs, and so you know what it's like. Ipswich is the one I think of where you help them a lot. You know, and people say, oh, well, you owe us. Do you feel that way?
I didn't know. I got to a point where I wanted to be in the Premier League. I had enough of playing in the old Division 1 it was back then. And you get to a point where I've given you everything. Like, there's nothing more I can give you unless we get promoted. Okay, fair enough, I understand that. But I think with Ivan Toney, he got them promoted. You know what I mean? The season before they didn't.
How many goals?
Exactly, broke the record. I know Mitrovic has since broke it, but he broke the record, getting them out of the Championship. every single time he steps onto that pitch for Brentford, either scores, he does something, he gives it everything. I think he does get to a point now, because if it was in the reverse and they want to get rid of him, you best believe the way I've seen clubs treat players, they'd push him to the side and move him on. So for himself, of course he's got to look after himself. He'll have Brentford on one hand, but in himself, it's about doing what's right for Ivan Toney. And if that's down to the end of the season and scoring as many goals for Brentford, that's what he should do.
Absolutely.
For Arsenal, it's 1 win in 7 in all competitions, and they're one of the sides, as I mentioned, linked with Ivan Toney. In the last 3 games, they've managed 63 shots on goal. They've scored just 1. And in Ian Wright's words, on social media, having watched the Liverpool game recently, we need a killer. But if it's not Ivan Toney, is it do or die in terms of getting a player in?
I don't think so, no. I think that, you know, with time to reflect, obviously watching that game, and when you're seeing so many chances missed, so many chances created and missed, it is very frustrating. And, you know, with hindsight, I wouldn't have put that tweet out, but that's how it goes. The fact is, you know, we're creating chances. You know, to have 4 players who were in double figures last season, nowhere near their numbers, but you're creating, it's an anomaly. It's not right, that's what's going on. We have to, I think the break's come at the right time. We have to take this break and reset and get it going again. Which not much needs to be done. We're creating chances. People have to start taking them. They have to get to the levels they were at last season. That's on the players themselves. You know, it shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, because if we get someone in January, you know what I mean? So if they come in, they're going to have to come in and hit the ground running. That's a lot of pressure on them, because they're going to come in, everyone's saying, oh, they've come in, they're going to solve the goal-scoring problem. If they don't, then all of a sudden, you've got another player who's not doing it. He has to give these players a chance, and I think the break might help them, Manish, to get themselves going. It's on them as professionals to do more. Take these chances. That's what it comes down to for me.
Is the answer within?
It has to be, because we've seen this. I mean, Martinelli, for instance, last season was fantastic. 15 goals, nowhere near the levels. Odegaard, he got 15 goals last season, nowhere near the levels. I think Saka's numbers are similar, but he looks like he needs a rest. I mean, we're playing him every minute of every single game, so I can understand that dip, but I think Wright is right. If you keep creating opportunities, at some point, these are good players. Like, you don't lose it overnight. It will change. It's just the fact that we're creating so many chances and not taking them, why it looks like it's worse than it actually is. But once one goes in, you think it'd be the same.
Hopefully.
You see, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I know, even when you're looking at articles in the papers, the narrative from Mikel Arteta is it's not realistic for us to get a well-remunerated striker, particularly after what they've spent in the summer.
Yeah, well, listen, FFP is a very real and clear and present danger. If you look at some of the clubs in the bottom half of the Premier League,
for Villa.
Absolutely. And from what I gather, a lot of clubs are thinking along those lines, and that's the reason why it's not as profligate as it has been in the past in the January transfer window. It has been said that maybe there are 1 or 2 players on the fringes at Arsenal who could be sold in order to accommodate somebody like a Toney. The one thing, I agree with the chaps about the answer being within at Arsenal, the only thing I would say at Arsenal, if you look at that forward line, the injury record of all those players is not great. Saka maybe aside, Jesus always has at least a couple of months in the season. Martinelli, has issues as well. Odegaard as well. And really, you need someone in that forward line who's always going to be available for you, who's always going to be the person who can shoulder that responsibility.
If Thomas Partey comes back and allows Declan Rice a slightly more advanced position, does that give you more of a goal threat, more of a presence in the final third?
Yeah, well, of course it does, because he progresses the ball. He can progress it either passing or he can run through with it. But at the same time, I mean, it's just going to still come down to the simple fact that people just have to take the chances that are being created. You know, Declan Rice being let off to be more offensive is great, but if people are still missing chances, it doesn't make any difference. The problem is the taking of the chances, and people just need to be more aware and put themselves under more pressure to take the chances.
Also, look, defensively, you're letting in goals ordinarily you wouldn't have done last season. Left back has become a bit of a problematic issue. Zinchenko there at the minute. I saw Emmanuel Petit calling for the return of Kieran Tierney from Real Sociedad. Is he the answer?
No, if you want to play that inverted fullback, then no, which is why I think he's been sent to Sociedad. But I mean, Timber, it looks like he's training now. Because he looked brilliant pre-season.
How good did he look in the first game?
I think he will be the answer to that left-back situation, because Zinchenko, very good footballer.
That's exactly what it is.
But you can all understand the frustrations of Arsenal fans right now. They're so close to being, real challengers to Manchester City for this title. They know they came close last time. They just want to make sure that they can get over this hurdle.
Listen,
it's more than just, it's not a blip, or is it?
No, it's a blip. Of course it's a blip, because we're creating chances. If we weren't creating chances,
you'd be worried.
Be worried. The fact is that you see what City have done to Liverpool. You're trying to chase them. Don't think of City. Just think of what you can do to get yourself in the top 4 and hope that City do something wrong, because at the moment, you're chasing something that is out of your reach. They just need to start scoring and winning games. Can't be talking about trying to catch City and winning leagues at the moment, man.
As the Caribbean people say, the big people are talking now.
There's big D ahead of little D. But confident that you can get back.
100%.
Performance.
Just when they start taking their chances, Arsenal will keep pace with them too.
Yeah. And the most fascinating aspect is Arsenal come back from their midweek break for the righty derby, as it happens, against Crystal Palace.
How appropriate.
And Palace themselves, no doubt, could do with the points themselves from Roy Hodgson. Well, the player break means we had 5 matches at the weekend, with wins for Chelsea and Manchester City and draws in the other 3 games. This weekend, we've got Arsenal, Crystal Palace and Brentford, Nottingham Forest on Saturday. It's Sheffield United, West Ham and Bournemouth, Liverpool on Sunday, with Wolves heading down to Brighton on Monday. Well, Liverpool remain top of the table despite not playing, but will be worrying for the title chasers is that Manchester City have moved above Villa into 2nd. Spurs are now level on points with Arsenal after their draw at Old Trafford. Newcastle dropped down to 10th. At the bottom half of the table, the 3 promoted clubs remain in the relegation zone, but Luton's dramatic late draw at Burnley means they're keeping pace with Everton in 17th position. Warm welcome to the programme. Great to have you with me. And Ian Wright joining us this afternoon. The 2 Darrens, Lewis and Bent. Brycey, did you not get the memo for the roll neck?
I didn't get the memo, man.
What's going on?
Sorry, bro.
You've let the team
One
down.
time in your career, get off the pace.
I'm jealous of the roll neck.
Looking at that fixture list, only Spurs, that's the only fixture I think to myself they would be able to hold their own against them. They don't have a good record away to Tottenham.
No.
And so that could be the one. But apart from that, all the rest of them, they could steamroll. Erling Haaland's been missing for 9 games. People forget that. And you talk about this run that they're on and the way that they're steamrolled teams, and most tellingly the way that they've come from behind, because I was fancying Newcastle when they went 2-0. They got those goals out of nothing at St James's Park, where they're normally strong, where not too many teams have beaten them in the Premier League so far this season. And yet the character, that's when you look at that title race now, the top 4, yes, mathematically Villa are in there, yes, Spurs are in there mathematically, but when you actually look at the quality in there, the capability to change games when the odds are against you, it's really only the top 2.
The thing is as well, with Erling Haaland, watching his team still just beating teams, whether that will make him want to come back and prove I'm part of the team, because they can win without him.
Is that what happens when you're a striker?
Absolutely.
You see the team?
When you are a striker and you're you're injured, you see,
you're
injured. Anyone who says that you want the team to do well, do you want your striking guy to go and score the goals for them to do well? No. You want someone else to score the goals, so as when you come back, you can get your place back. You see, Erling Haaland now knows, and he's watching the team, and he's got the kind of manager, he knows, you're going to be on the bench because these guys are doing okay. So Erling Haaland's going to come back, Manish, wanting to prove something more, like he needs to.
Does every striker have that element of selfishness about them?
Yeah, of course. You always, that's right. I said there, you always want your team to do well, but whoever's playing in your position, you're like, hope he doesn't get one. You just hope one of the midfield players can pop up with a goal or something. Do you know what I mean? It's a really weird situation because you're watching the game kind of on 10 hooks, thinking,
and you don't dislike them.
No, you don't.
You don't. Yeah. But this is the thing. You don't dislike them. It's more a case of they're taking your place. You know what I mean? And if you're out of the team, what's going to happen to you? You're just worried about that. But at the same time, You know, you want the. It's like, you know, you do play and you do really well. They take you off, and then the guy comes on, scores. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm having a nightmare. Jealous of the Rolex vibe.
Well, I tell you what, let's roll the clock back to Friday. See what I did there? Burnley against Luton. This was a big game, wasn't it? 2 of the bottom 3, and there was a contentious ending to the game. Luton getting a 92nd minute penalty goal, an equalising goal. Elijah Adebayo on James Trafford. There was a coming together. Some thought it was a foul, and it should have been disallowed, including Vincent Kompany. But the referee on the pitch and VAR both said it's fine. It's good to stand. I think there's a case of strikers' union here with you, Ian, and Darren.
I think the goalkeeper's got that completely wrong. I'm giving that goal. I'm sorry. I'm giving that goal. I think that the goalkeeper he's misjudged it. You know, I mean, yes, people say that he's bumped into him and he's stopped him from getting there. I think his line of his trajectory was all wrong. They should not disallow that goal. He's using his hands as well. He can use his hands. He didn't even get off the ground. Look at him. Look. Watch him. Look. Look where the ball is and look where he is.
Yeah, but is Adebayo looking at the ball?
I'm just glad that they didn't disallow it, because I think that the goalkeeper's got that wrong.
Darren, you're sticking to your guns as well, aren't you?
Yeah, he's got to be stronger. I think as a goalkeeper, I think it's a classic case of goalkeepers now, they're protected. So even if they get the slightest bit of contact, they can go down, they'll think, do you know what? I'll get the foul. If he thinks to himself, do you know what? I'm going to go and claim this ball. I guarantee he doesn't go down. He could be stronger there, so I'm glad that was given. I know some people would probably say
we thought it would have been disallowed.
Yeah, but I'm glad it wasn't.
When they gave it, I said, yeah, good, yeah. Give that goal.
Yeah. I agree. I think goalkeepers are the most protected species on the planet. And the goalkeeper in that situation doesn't even really make an attempt to jump. He assumes the referee's going to blow as soon as he goes into the back of Adebayo. Ironically, had he stayed on his line, Morris would have just headed into his arms. So he makes all sorts of bad decisions and thinks he's going to be saved by the referee's whistle.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I suppose we'll know the importance of that decision come May. Those two teams, you know, will be hoping it doesn't come down to literally a point or two in terms of staying in the Premier League. Now, look, we're going to talk about Kevin De Bruyne, who also put in the standout performance in that incredible cameo. Before we get to that game at Newcastle, I want to know from actually you two, who were your assist providers? Who was the one teammate that you could always rely on to deliver that killer pass for you to put the ball into the back of the net?
I mean, early on, Darren Ambrose was a good one, but Danny Murphy's probably the one that stands out the most, because he was one of those midfield players that, even if he probably shouldn't try the pass, he'd still do it. He'd give the ball away 5-6 times, but he knows that one time he does give it to me, there's a chance of opportunity. So, yeah, Danny Murphy for me. Even this one here, there's not even a pass there.
Nice what a pass that is.
Yeah, there's not even a pass there.
Nice finish, Steve.
But it was one of those where, that game there, I was desperate to play. I had a hamstring injury.
Wow.
But Sunderland were that bad, I thought, boy, I'm going to goals here. I said to the physio, listen, just whatever you got to do, make sure I'm out there. Even if I play 45, there's a goal coming here. Yeah, that was Danny Murphy. He was top quality.
Who would be your go-to?
I'd probably say, it's obviously my go-tos, but I can't sit here and not mention Paul Merson and Anders Limpar in my early days at Palace, but obviously Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah, of course.
You know, when he came, it just went, you know, it's the passing, these kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like in the space of like 10, 15 yards.
Record breaker.
He's passing, you know, I didn't actually do it. I didn't actually do it on that one. Yeah. Took it off at the wrong time. But like, it was a case of the movement. He was so good with his vision that it'd make the pass. The pass would always be perfect.
See, I asked you about this before in terms of, do you make his mind up for me in terms of where you run, or does he make your mind up for you in terms of where he passes the ball into, in that he finds a space for you to
I think that there's a combination of both of those, but the main thing is, what I found with Bergkamp and players like you mentioned, Danny Murphy, another really technical good player, is if they've got time, you can make the run. And you can make the run anywhere. They will get the ball to you. That's the main thing. But when you see like Dennis running through like he was, he's going to put that ball in with the right pace, no touch. He just finishes.
You see, I'm so glad you highlighted Bergkamp, because he is a beautiful footballer. And you know, of all the thousands of magnificent players to play the game and to score goals and to thrill us and be killers in front of goal in a sporting context, you have some like De Bruyne, Bergkamp, Berbatov, who, you know, they manage the ball, they caress the ball, they finesse the ball. They're the kind of guy that if there were four of you in a telephone box, they could find space to open a newspaper up and read it. You know,
they're beautiful on the ball.
They are so beautiful on the ball, and I think football doesn't have many of them. But when you see them, you see that they stand head and shoulders above everybody else. And when De Bruyne came onto the pitch I was with some other journalists today, and we were talking about where he stands in terms of the great midfielders in over the Premier League. 30 years or so. And he stands alongside any one of them because when he comes on, he has an authority on the ball that allows him to try anything. And I can't think of too many midfielders who had a passing range that could find you wherever you are. You know,
I'd still have to throw Scholes in there. You know what I mean? But of course, De Bruyne, what he's doing. But I just have to Scholes.
Why Scholes?
Because in that area, Scholes could make any pass as well. His vision was unbelievable. You know, whether it's long range passing, short range, one touch, anything, inside foot, outside of anything. You know what I mean? We're seeing a different level as well. What De Bruyne is doing with the current midfielders around. I think he's easily the best in the world. But I think that when you look at Scholes' repertoire as well, Scholes is up there. I think them two are up there as the best ever in the Premier League.
You see, one thing I don't remember is Scholes.
And Patrick Vieira.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't remember Scholes ever being out for a particular length of time, like 5 months.
Yeah.
Like Kevin De Bruyne did this time round.
Yeah.
And yes, he got minutes against Huddersfield in the FA Cup last weekend. But to come on and turn a game on its head, which is crying out for a lock picker.
It's because he's great. He's what, you know, people use the term great so easily, Darren, but like the great players, like you mentioned, they impact the game. Yeah. He's got great structure, but he comes on, and the great players, like again, it's 5 months, everyone's saying, when's he coming back? But the great, they come back when they're right, when they're ready. And it's no surprise that someone like Kevin De Bruyne could come on and do this, because that's what he does. Yeah. That's what he's capable of doing.
And the thing is, the great players, you don't just hope they're going to change the game. They want that responsibility of changing the game. When he came on, you could see they had a free kick and everyone just stood aside and said, there you go. And he's like, yeah, that's right.
His pass here for Oscar Bob.
Magnificent. This is exactly my point. I was at the Etihad for the Manchester derby, and I saw De Bruyne put a pass. Honestly, it was like slicing through butter to find Erling Haaland at the far post, and was able to convert it. And it's that range of passing that sets him above so many other. Look at this.
Do you know that pass is not even on? That's how good that pass is.
You know something? This is why. Look. And what you got to understand is what the space. You can't even give him that much space. Right, in that area of the field, you've got to, if you are not, look at the amount of space Kevin De Bruyne has got. You are asking for, because you're underestimating the fact that he can do that. Listen, we've got to say something about Oscar Bob's finish. But at the same time, the accuracy, the precision of that pass is like, it's almost genius.
You know the best thing you could say about that pass? That pass is so good that the finish, which is actually exceptional, has had nowhere near the credit it deserves.
Well said.
That's his first Premier League goal for the 20-year-old.
Yeah, that was his special moment. The composure, the tackle that he rides, the goalkeeper oncoming, all of those things, and he manages to keep his head, to slot it away on his Premier League debut, the match-winning goal.
You know, big players,
fabulous
impact games, and are capable of doing that. And like you said in the intros, is the Man City ominous. You know, with him coming back as well, doing that. That's a goal out of nothing.
Yeah. If you're an attacker in that team as well, every time he gets the ball, just make the run. You haven't got to worry about where the ball's going to end up. If it's the right quality, it will come exactly how you need it to come. And in that situation there, for Oscar Bob, as it drops to him, he could even have gone down because his touch was good.
Brilliant.
He got tackled, he stays on his feet. If you're Alvarez or Haaland, you're rubbing your hands together.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on the fact a little bit earlier. I mean, it's quite a notable goal in the fact that it's his 103rd assist in the Premier League, level now with Wayne Rooney, not behind Cesc Fabregas, which is amazing to think, really. But obviously, Ryan.
See that graphic, right? That's a really good example of. You know, sometimes they say you sometimes forget what somebody says, but you always remember how they make you feel, right? When you look at those 5 players, all magnificent players, and we know what they did, But De Bruyne, you remember how he makes you feel, you know, about the game, about when you watch him in action. Giggs was another one of those, you know, from 17 years of age. Obviously, Fabregas was a young teenager as well and did great things. But I look at De Bruyne and he's going to stand the test of time in the way he made me feel about football.
I spoke to him last season and just about his range of passing. And we have seen players of that ilk, Gerrard and Lampard, Scholesy particularly, can put it on a sixpence. But it's not something you can practice in training, is it?
What with
delivering those passes at those angles with that pass appreciation and weight?
No, what it is obviously that's his ability. It's in him to do it, but then it's the work what he puts in to have the confidence to just go out and do it. You have to put the work in. You know what I mean? We've seen loads of players who are unbelievable technical footballers. You know what I mean? You only have to look at his journey. There's people who obviously did not feel that he was going to do what he's going to do or go on to do what he's done. But what he's done is he's constantly worked at what he has inside him. And now he's gone to clubs where the structure's right for him and he can just then go and express himself and do his stuff. He's just worked on himself in being the best he can be. That's the great players owe it to all of us to do that. He's doing that because, like you say, just like Messi, they give you joy. When you watch Kevin De Bruyne play, you feel joy.
Yeah. I did the show on Saturday. Sean was with me, obviously Wright Jr., alongside Alan Shearer. Sean was delighted with the way, obviously, City came back. Shearer hated it, by the way.
I'll tell you a very quick story about De Bruyne. I interviewed him ahead of the Champions League final in May, and he told me this story about how when he was a kid, he would tear up his mum and dad's garden, when he was practicing with the ball. So, because I'd asked him, how come you're so good with your left foot? He said, when I was tearing up the garden, Rick and my mum and dad's flower pots and beds and stuff, they said, hit with your left foot. Because they didn't think he would make that much mess, you know, with his left foot. And he turns into be a genius.
Wow.
Left foot as well as his right.
Exactly. Ronnie O'Sullivan. They are coming, and it's scary. Because, like, Kevin De Bruyne is doing that, and then it's just as Darren just said, and Erling Haaland's got, and I thought to myself, Erling Haaland's it's so ominous.
Haaland and KDB, we saw what that pairing did last season. They've been on the pitch together this season for 20 minutes.
Wow. They're going to come and want to make up for lost time because the 6 games in all competitions unbeaten. We know that they've got that 10, 12, 15 game streak in them. You know what I mean? You have to look at you have to look at the Arsenal, Liverpool, you know, the rest of the teams, you know, Villa. How do you stay with that? It's coming. How do you stay with it? You're really stretched just to try and hang in there.
हाँ तो गाइस वेलकम बैक टू अनदर वीडियो ऑफ पबजी इन्फॉर्मेशन वीडियो। तो जैसे कि आपको बताया हम जो है वो आपको मिडिल ईस्ट टॉप रैंकर्स के बारे में इन्फॉर्मेशन दे रहे हैं। तो टीवीपी वालों के बारे में तो हमने आपको बता दिया, और जैसे कि मैंने भी बता दिया कि हम जो है वो कल एफपीवी में गेम खेल रहे थे, हम पुश कर रहे थे, लेकिन एफपीवी मूड हमें पसंद नहीं आया। तो ये जो है आ गया है एफपीवी में। तो एफपीवी में भी है फर्स्ट जो प्लेयर है उसने जो है वो कंकर किया है, और उसका जो है 11 की केडी है, इसकी पता नहीं किधर का प्लेयर है, फिलीपींस का मुझे लग रहा है। और दूसरा नंबर जो है उसका A*3 है। इनको भी तो कंकर नहीं मिला यार, ये क्या। अगर जब लास्ट बंदे की अगर हम बात करें, लास्ट जो बंदा है 100 पर, उसका जो है रैंक है क्राउन 3, उसका रैंक है 100 नंबर पर। ये जो है तकरीबन 17 तक, टॉप 17 तक क्राउन 1 चल रहा है, और 16 में जो है वो आ गया है। 16 पर जो प्लेयर है उसने एस किया हुआ है, जो कि क्या है, रोमी। हाँ, रोमी पता नहीं कौन है, मैं तो जानता नहीं। तो सिर्फ एक प्लेयर ने जो है इसमें कंप्लीट किया है एफपीपी में, और किसी को भी नहीं मिला। अगर आप पहले वीक में एस कर लेते हो तो आपको कंकरर जो है वो आसानी से मिल जाता है। तो गाइस मिलता है नेक्स्ट वीडियो में। थैंक यू।